see with my notes there. Yeah. Okay, Suzanne, if you want to start sharing your screen as you click over here, I'll do your introduction. Professor Suzanne Bart is a graduate of the University of, a BS graduate of the University of Delaware with distinction. And she's a PhD graduate of Cornell University, where she earned her PhD in the group of Paul Chirk, working on homogeneous iron catalysis with redox active ligands. Following her time at Cornell, she moved to Germany, where she was a Humboldt postdoc fellow with Karsten Meyer. In 2008, she returned stateside, where she became an assistant professor of chemistry at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. She was promoted to associate professor in July of 2014 and to professor in July of 2018. Her research group looks at organometallic transformations and small molecule activation mediated by organoactinides, with an emphasis on alkyls and redox active ligands. Suzanne has won an NSF Career Award, a Cottrell Scholar Award, a 2014 Organometallics Young Investigator Fellowship, Rising Star Award from the Women's Chemist Committee of the ACS. And in 2017, she became an associate editor at the journal Inorganic Chemistry. She's authored over 60 articles on actinide and lanthanide redox and coordination chemistry. Of course, Suzanne is also a center member, and we're very excited to have your talk about maintaining mental health and academic research training, Suzanne. So thanks very much, and we look forward to your remarks.
All right, well, thank you so much, Eric, for that introduction. And I just want to especially thank Jen for her awesome talk. I actually learned a lot. I picked up some good tips there. I think I'm going to try. So I'm very appreciative for that talk. And I think I will be accessing it on a regular basis to kind of implement some of those tips. So I'm excited to be here today to tell you a little bit about what I've learned over the years about maintaining mental health and academic research training. I want to start off this talk with a disclaimer. So I want to tell you that I am not a mental health expert. I'm not trained in mental health. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is my own opinions and experiences that I have kind of been through and learned from as a graduate student, as a postdoc, as an advisor, as a mom, and someone that tries to take care of my mental health now. I will go ahead and tell you that I'm a hypocrite because when I was in graduate school, I did not take care of my mental health. I didn't know that taking care of your mental health was a thing, you know, so now I know. So some of what I'm going to be sharing with you it kind of plays off of that and like what I have learned from maybe not taking care of my mental health as well as I could have. I've compiled a lot of this talk from internet resources that I agree with. So once again, like I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not getting this out of, you know, like, you know, specific mental health books or things like that. It's like online resources, some journal articles I've read, stuff like that. I'll also tell you that this is a little bit different than a talk I usually give. So it's a little bit wordy. And the idea here is that you're going to be able to use these slides as a future reference. So I did keep in mind that this talk is going to be posted, and I'd like you to be able to come back to this talk and maybe print some things out or maybe adapt it, you know, to give your own talk at some point. In certain instances, I am going to share my own experiences. I hope you don't mind. It's not because I want to be preachy or anything about that. It's just kind of telling you about what I've learned, and maybe you could connect with it, and you know, maybe we could facilitate conversation that way. And of course, I'm happy to chat more offline if anybody wants to discuss any further information. You know, my email, phone number are on the CSSM website, so you know, please feel free to reach out to me. So the first thing I want to talk about is sort of some very interesting statistics about mental health in students, both graduate students and undergrads. So something I learned from reading these articles is that graduate students are more than 6 times as likely to experience depression and anxiety compared to the regular population. And that's of course because graduate school, it's a very intense experience. You have a lot of pressure on yourself. You put pressure on yourself. You have these external forces like your advisor, your research group, deadlines. So it's very natural that graduate students are going to feel more depressed or anxious than maybe somebody that isn't in graduate school. About a third of PhD students are at risk of developing a common psychiatric disorder like depression, anxiety, something like that. And then there are certain groups of students who might even feel this more. So that would be students with minority statuses, maybe those in the LGBTQ plus community, women. So there's a lot of additional pressures that go on in graduate school. So I just want you to be aware of that. Okay. Now, with that being said, about half of the students that have anxiety or depression disorders in graduate school report that they don't have a supportive relationship with their PIs. And so the article measures this in a variety of ways, including if the students feel valued and whether their PIs have a positive impact on their mental well-being and whether they feel that their PIs are assets to their career. So certainly your advisor does play a role. And so I'm going to talk about during this talk some ways that you can think about mending relationships or improving your relationship or having a healthy relationship with your PI. Okay, so some very interesting statistics for undergraduates. Some of you are undergraduates, so maybe you might recognize some of this. As graduate students, postdocs, faculty, we all work with undergraduates. So I think these statistics are really important to know. And so that's about 40% of students in college, undergraduates, they experience a mental health issue. And about 50% of these cases, they can happen by age 14. So it's before you even start college that, teenagers can start developing these issues, and about 75% begin by the age of 24. So to me, those are some really shocking statistics. Like, I had no idea. And they especially, I'm especially aware of them too as a mom. The other really interesting thing here is about 2/3 of students with anxiety and depression, they don't seek treatment for a variety of reasons. Maybe they don't know where to get it. Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they don't know they have an issue. So we're going to talk a little bit later about how to recognize students that maybe have issues so that you can help them get treatment. So college students report that anxiety, of course, is one of the top concerns that they feel, followed by depression and then relationship problems. I mean, we were all in college. We all know the pressures that go along with college. So these facts shouldn't really be surprising. And so I found this nice, concise graphic here that talks about anxiety disorders and symptoms. So these are maybe symptoms you might recognize in yourself or somebody else, but I think it's kind of a good summation for you to be aware of. Okay, more statistics about undergraduates. So suicide, of course, is a huge issue in the undergraduate population. So it's the second leading cause of death among college students. And then for every person who does die by suicide, 280 people decide not to go through with a suicide attempt. So, these are thoughts that people have. And the more we can help to kind of address mental health issues, the more we can kind of, get at reducing these numbers. So interestingly, about 2/3 of college students first tell a friend they're feeling suicidal before they tell anyone else. So people do share their feelings. And if you're one of those friends that, you've been confided in, then it's going to be important to help those people get help. And about half of us experience a mental health condition in our lifetime. So, I think, that's a really important statistic to keep in mind. But the bottom line here is that mental illness is treatable and suicide is preventable. And a lot of times mental health illnesses, they go untreated because people are embarrassed or they don't know where to get help. And so removing the stigma and talking about these things is a really important issue. So I have here the graphic for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So if you're having suicidal thoughts or you know somebody that is, you can go on here and get advice and give help. And this, of course, is a graphic and a slide that you can share. Okay, so those are all of the crazy statistics about mental health, you know, in the general population and in academia, specifically among grad students and undergrads. But let's talk a little bit more about why you should care about your mental health. So maintaining your health is really important. So just as physical fitness helps your body stay strong, mental fitness is going to help you achieve and sustain a good state of mental health. So you have to take care of your body to make sure it's in shape and make sure you're not in pain. You have to take care of your mind as well. When we're mentally healthy, we enjoy our life, we enjoy our environment, we enjoy people, we can be creative, learn, try new things, take risks. Not only that, but we're better able to cope with difficult times when things happen. So, you know, you wouldn't necessarily, you can better deal with deadlines, with stress, which things that might normally cause anxiety, stuff like that. And of course, you know, people have a range of emotions. So we feel sadness and anger that can come with traumatic life events like death of a loved one or job loss. But in time, we were able to get on with our lives and deal with what's going on in a healthy way and enjoy our lives once again. And so I really love this cartoon that I stole from the internet because it basically gives you a range of mental states here. So you've got healthy and coping with the happy face, ranging all the way over to mentally ill with the sad face. And so the idea with this cartoon here is that in the first two kind of areas here in healthy coping and reacting, these are zones where, you know, we can sort of engage in self-care and we can turn to our friends and family for support and things like that. But once kind of things go from reacting into the poor mental health zone, then this is where we are really going to need some professional help. And so this is where it's going to be time to start maybe making phone calls, making appointments, things like that, to see doctors, therapists, psychologists, whatever. And so these are kind of zones where you might need extra help. And don't forget that statistic told us that about half of us struggle with these types of mental disorders. So about half of us can reach this area. Okay. So maintaining your mental health is super important because if you don't, eventually it will catch up with you. And I can tell you that from personal experience. So it's definitely true. Okay. So a lot of us come from departments where we don't hear a lot about mental health. So I want to talk to you about ways that you can help to change the mental health culture in your department. I've got a couple of slides on this, and I think this is really important for helping students really kind of be aware of taking care of their mental health. So the first thing that you can do to help you change mental health culture in your department is get a team of people that are like-minded. And it doesn't matter who the people are. They can be students, they can be faculty, they can be staff, they can be undergrads, they can be grads, they can be postdocs, it doesn't matter. The rank doesn't matter. When it comes to mental health, it's all about getting people together that care and that want to make a difference. So find a team of people that care and want to make a difference. The next thing is once you have this team of people assembled, you can begin talking with upper administration to express concerns about the current culture. So when you go talk to higher ups like administrations, it's very important that you bring a list of concrete things. So first, you want to talk about with the administration reasons that you think the culture needs to be improved or should be improved. And then you can bring a list of tangible items that you want to accomplish. And we'll get into a little bit more of this stuff later. But whenever you go and talk to administrators, you want to don't speak in generalizations. You want to speak in specifics about things that need to be improved and that could be improved, and about ways that you want to do it. The next thing is to enlist others to help you run events. There's no reason for you to take on everything yourself. So enlist others broadly in your departments to help you run events. You also want to engage the mental health resources on campus. Every college campus has mental health resources. Find out what they are, get those people in your department, start giving talks, or have them start giving talks, holding seminars, webinars, whatever. I've done some of this in our department, and it's worked out pretty well. The other thing is that every campus has on-campus resources for funding. So, you know, a lot of departments, especially with COVID, like we're all in a budget crunch. There's not a lot of extra money around, but campus resources, there's always money for running events. Some campuses have money for mental health resources, so take advantage of those. The other thing that can be really helpful is sending out informational emails to the department. So with permission from your departmental administrators or faculty or advisors or whoever, you know, send out informational emails about, you know, important mental health events going on, either in campus, on the community, did you know type of emails, send out, you know, information, like informing people about things that are going on in the mental health world. And the other really important thing that you got to notice, or that you have to be aware of when you're thinking about changing mental health culture in your department, is that small steps are really important. You're not going to achieve what you want to achieve with big overarching steps. You need small steps to let people know about mental health resources, and, you know, hopefully that will begin to change the mental health culture in your department, little bits at a time. So let's talk about broader things you can do. So when it comes to changing mental health culture in your department, one of the key issues is communication. So I have this little cartoon in here about the importance of communication, where, you know, doctors kind of drop their patient on the ground. I thought that was cute, but it's about the importance of communicating and being on the same page. And so I told you earlier that one of the sources of student anxiety was poor relationships with their PIs or their advisor. So one of the ways you can help with this is facilitating more frequent student-faculty engagement. And we're going to get into some ways you can increase this engagement later. Also, whether you're teaching a class or you're a TA for a class, you have your own section or for recitation or something like that, you want to facilitate and require mental health and wellness sections of your syllabus. So on all your syllabi, put a little thing in there: mental health is important to me. If you need help, please come see me. Or here are campus resources that you can use. Or I maintain my mental health, let me help you maintain yours, or something like that. So show all of the students that you teach that mental health is one of your commitments and it's important to you, and this will help make it important to them too. Make sure that there's frequent and consistent statements of your school's leadership's commitment to student mental health. I know that's like a lot of apostrophes in that sentence. I don't know if I use them right. But the idea here is that you not only want for you, but also for your department, the leadership of your department, to be able to share their commitment to student mental health. Again, communication. You need to communicate medical leave policies to students, faculty, and staff, you know, so this is something, you know, that it can be very political, but the idea here is you want graduate students and undergraduate students and faculty, staff, postdocs to know that medical leave is possible. Like, Having a baby is just as legitimate as, you know, needing treatment for mental health. Like physical issues are legitimate. Nobody questions that. Well, mental health issues are too. They really should be thought of as one and the same. So it's important that we communicate the medical leave policies to students so they know that, you know, there is a way that they can take time off to get help. Okay, teaching faculty. Any faculty that see students, any graduate students that teach students, you know, you can request for your department that these people get training on student mental health resources. So I know we do a little bit of that here at Purdue, you know, but it's important that, you know, maybe people don't necessarily use the resources, but they know that they're there and they can communicate to students. And another important thing is getting faculty to encourage students to mind their physical and mental health. So as an advisor, you know, remind your graduate students and postdocs to mind their physical health. As a graduate student, remind the undergrads that work with you about minding their mental health. So this communication is really important. And then you could even think about creating a small committee, you know, regarding academic and funding policies that protect student mental health. So forming a small committee in your department, you know, where people can discuss the different funding that's out there for mental health resources, or different organizations or resources where students can get help with their mental health. Okay, so I want to take a couple minutes here to talk about faculty involvement. So if there are faculty that are listening, these are things to be aware of, but I really want to talk to the students about helping your faculty kind of stay in this mindset. So I think Jen talked in her talk just a few minutes ago about, I think it was like maintaining your faculty or something like that, which I liked. So these are things that faculty need to know, and probably your faculty don't know them. Okay, so it's only with strong and validated interventions that academia will be able to provide help for those traveling through the bioscience workforce pipeline. So I got this from Nature Biotechnology, but I feel like it goes for all STEM fields. Like we have to have strong and validated interventions, which means people need to say, hey, this is a problem and we're going to take care of it. You know, data that's out there call for a major need for institutions to create programs to help solve mental health issues. So this is something that institutions need to take on as a whole. A perceived supportive relationship with one's principal investigator and healthy work-life balance correlate with better mental health. So I told you before, one of those statistics was that students with poor mental health reported having a poor relationship. Well, here, having a supportive relationship is going to help with work-life balance and helping students with their mental health. And finally, increasing awareness of mental health issues among students, facilitating access to support, and training PIs. You know, encouraging PIs to promote work-life balance by leading by example. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Faculty as a whole, we pretty much suck at work-life balance because none of us were taught it. Sorry, the way it was in the 90s, in the early 2000s. So we're terrible at it. So once again, I feel like kind of a hypocrite telling you, you know, have a good work-life balance. But this is the thing, like, if you and your PI can work together to promote work-life balance with each other and make it sort of an institution of your group, then this is definitely a very healthy mental health practice. And so it goes not just for students, but also for faculty too. And I love this cartoon. I think it's great. So it's like half professional, you know, half a little yoga girl taking care of her mental health side with the lotus flowers and the coffee. So that's exactly kind of in the middle, like where you want to be. Okay, so an important issue here, the idea of prevention. So we want to prevent mental health issues, and we want to intervene when we see them. We don't want to have crisis response, and we don't want stigma. And so we want to create a culture that's all about prevention and intervention. And this is why I'm talking to you about how to create a better mental health culture in your department, because we want to try to prevent mental health issues and be aware of them and intervene when we see them. We don't want to have to go into crisis response mode, because by then it's too late. And we don't want to have to deal with stigma. If you can create this culture, the stigma will go away. You don't have to worry about it. It'll go away on its own. So your work conditions and your career outlook play a key role in the mental state of PhD trainees. So this is something to keep in mind. This is a great line from this article: having an inspirational supervisor partially offset risks. So, you know, all of us supervisors on the line, we try to be inspirational to you. I don't know if it works, but, you know, a lot of us, I know in the center, Jen, Jonathan, George, the other PIs, Fraser, that are in the center, you know, we try to lead by example. And, you know, while we do have, you know, maybe some work-life balance issues here or there, for the most part, we try to lead by example. And I think that's really important, you know, the whole inspirational supervisor thing. So that's something for faculty to remember. A message for PIs: investing in their own leadership competencies can really make a difference. So while we're asking you guys to think about your mental health and we're creating all of these professional development activities for you guys, PIs need to remember that we need to invest in our own leadership competencies as well. And I'm lucky at Purdue, we have like a mentoring network. We have a Center for Instructional Excellence that runs, you know, seminars and workshops and things like that. So I've been to a number of these, but you have to remind your advisors too that, oh, this is out there, you know, maybe think about going to one of these. Say it in a nice way so they're not insulted, but, you know, say, oh, did you know this seminar was going on? This is really cool. I'm going to go. Do you want to go with me? Invite your PI to maybe go to some professional development things that you think they might be interested in. And of course, encourage PIs to take mental health issues seriously and learn how to spot signs of potential emotional distress. So we're going to talk about how to spot students of concern, you know, but nobody's going to expect a PI to be able to diagnose mental health problems. That's not like what we're trained in, but we know our students pretty well. And we know when people aren't acting themselves, or maybe they're seeming more anxious, or they're not going to group things, or they're quiet, or, you know, previously they were really good at meeting deadlines and now they're missing all deadlines. So while PIs, it's not our job to diagnose things, it is our job to kind of know our students and know when their behaviors are off. Okay, so I want to talk to you about things that we do at Purdue. So in my position at Purdue, I'm an associate department head with a focus on graduate education. So a couple of years ago, I started a mental health initiative. It actually got kicked off because I knew that May was Mental Health Month. And so I started my mental health initiative by going to a faculty meeting and talking to the faculty about some of these issues and some of these statistics I've shared with you. So out of that sort of came this initiative. So the first thing I did was deployed a mental health survey to all of the graduate students to kind of assess where we were as a department. So I learned a lot about what students felt about the culture in our department, what events students would like to see, what areas students would like help with. And I kind of gauged things from there to sort of begin to plan activities. The next thing that I did along with a team of students was to expand mental health and well-being content and put an emphasis on mental health in orientations for all students. And so I started holding events. And so one of the first things I was able to do was to recruit a teacher to come to our department and do some yoga classes. So yoga was something that I was kind of interested in, but I'd never done. And I was like too embarrassed to go to a yoga studio. And I'm like, I can't be bothered. I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. And when it comes to working out, like I'm an excuse maker. So I knew that if I got a yoga teacher to come to my department, like I'd have no excuse. So here we are. You can see me in the middle. I'm in the blue shirt with the ponytail there. I'm doing yoga. The building you see in the back is the chemistry building. I literally walked outside, put on a yoga pant. I put on my stretchy yoga pants and a yoga mat, and there I am doing yoga with some of my friends. You know, there's some staff members there. There's some grad students. A couple of my grad students are there. Some undergrads. So this is one of the events that we did. And I think we probably started this like maybe 2 years ago. And to this day, we still do it every week for those that want to do it. So it's been really good for me. I think it's been good for the other people that are participating. And it's kind of one of these easy things. In the winter, we fold up the furniture in the conference room and push it aside and do yoga on the floor there. I got somebody to come in to do a stress management seminar. I got somebody to come in and do pet therapy. So there you see a picture of Bella in the corner. She's the little pet therapy dog that we had come in, which we had a great attendance. So we paired the pet therapy with a ice cream social. So the graduate students were in charge of the ice cream social. So we kind of paired those two events. It turns out Bella, the dog, she really likes ice cream. So, you know, you want to keep those things separate if you decide to do that in the future. We did summer socials outside. You know, this of course was pre-COVID. So, we did a poker walk where you go around to tables and you pick up cards and you play poker. Check it out. I won this Fitbit Inspire by doing the poker walk. I got a full house, so go me. We have different meditation events. So sometimes we'll do like a half an hour meditation session during lunch. We had somebody come in and do a time management seminar, and it was pretty good. Not as good as the one that Jen just gave. That was a great one. But we had somebody come in and do that. Like I said, I kicked this off celebrating National Mental Health Awareness Month. So we did that. Things that we're thinking about, we haven't actually done this yet, but seminars for adulting topics. That's what we call them in my group, adulting. So things like how to manage money, how to do your taxes, how to deal with insurance, how to get a loan, how to buy a car. I mean, I could go to some of these. So I don't know how to, you know, I could improve my money management. Let's say that. So these are things that might be interesting for a lot of people. Maybe some of the faculty or staff might be interested. But also these are things faculty and staff can do. You know, like I know somebody around here that does taxes. So, you know, if you have somebody like that in your department, get them to give a seminar about giving taxes. Or Eric just bought a car, get Dr. Shelter to come in and talk to you about buying a car, you know, things like that. I will say as a faculty member, I'm very aware of my colleagues and I'm very aware of how they are very protective of their graduate students' time. So I was able to plan these events with keeping in mind thought to minimum interruption of research. So many of them were done after hours or they were done at lunchtime, things like that. More stuff we do at Purdue. So in my role as associate head, I work with Purdue's College of Science. And one of the initiatives from the College of Science was to create individual development plans. So you might have heard of IDPs. These are starting to become required by many federal funding agencies. And so the idea of the individual development plan, it is basically a document with a lot of questions for you to think about your future and to think about your graduate education and what you want to get out of it. So I've given you the link to the Purdue College of Science IDP page. If you go there, click on chemistry, you'll see 4 different IDPs there for first years, second years, 3+, and postdocs. These are IDPs that I personally have made. So if you, you know, so don't insult them to me, but you can tell me how wonderful they are. And so the purpose of these documents is to spark conversation between trainees and their mentors regarding career goals, skills, and interests. So I like to think of it as a way to facilitate difficult conversations with your advisor. Like, oh, I wish you could help me more with this. Or what do you think my graduation timeline is? Or what do you think I need work on? Or things like that. So I think these documents are pretty helpful. A lot of you probably already do them. If you don't do them, I've provided the website. Feel free to use ours. So I like these because it requires a certain amount of self-assessment. And so you got to get real with yourself and think about how you're doing really and what you are good at and what you are bad at and what you need help with. This is something that we as professionals do all the time. Being self-aware is very important. And also, if you think that there are improvements that could be made to these documents, please let me know. I'd be happy to change them. One thing I was kicking around was, should we make one that is CSSM specific? You know, should we make it a professional development activity for the center? That's something that we can discuss at a later date, but the ones that you see on this website are very general. And so we could make one with more specific goals and questions related to CSSM goals. But once again, the idea about these IDPs is facilitating difficult conversations with your advisor. And we want to facilitate these conversations to increase student communication with their advisors. Because the more communication you have, the more supportive relationship you have, and the more supportive relationship you have, the better you are off mental health wise. So see, it's like all connected here. So hopefully you see where I'm going with this. Okay, so what do I do to maintain my mental health? So I love that slide of Jen lifting weights. That was awesome. So I'm going to tell you some things that I do to help maintain my mental health, and maybe you can connect with some of these. So one of the most important things Jen mentioned was getting regular exercise. Like I said, I use my Fitbit all the time. I'm always logging my steps. I do yoga. Yoga is one of the few activities where I don't think about anything else. I only think about yoga. And part of it is because that's the practice of yoga. And part of it is because I'm not great at yoga and I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. So when I'm concentrating on contorting myself in all of these different ways, I'm not thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing at work. I text my friends a lot. I try to keep in touch with them. I hang out with my students. I plan social events. We have socially distanced pizza in the front yard. We've done that before. Or we've done, you know, masks in the backyard with drinks or something like that. Ooh. I take vacations. I was on vacation last week. I play with my kids. So when I'm playing with my kids, I'm not thinking about what is going on at work, because to be quite honest, my kids don't give a crap what's going on at work. They don't want to hear about it. They want mommy, you know, they want mommy to play with them and do things with them. So when I'm with my kids, I'm not thinking about work. I love baking. As a synthetic chemist, I love creating. So I bake a lot. I love to play with my dog. You can see a picture of my dog right there. He's a chocolate lab. His name is Otto. He's 11 and a half. You can tell from his white beard. He's very wise. We call him our post dog. You can see that I love you more than anything except my dog, which is true. I like my dog more than I like most people. So my dog and I are very close. Other things I like to do to maintain my mental health, I take on big projects. I enjoy home renovation, having social distance parties. I like to clean, I like to organize, I make jewelry. I joined Noom to help me with my physical health, and that has been really helpful in going along with my mental health. So feeling better physically has helped me feel better mentally. I try to be productive at work, so I try to have the separation. One thing I did not learn until I was a mom, cutting myself a break when I get overwhelmed. This is something that every graduate student and postdoc and faculty member and staff and whoever can get better at, cutting yourself a break. Before kids, I never cut myself a break. So you got to be real with yourself and figure out when you need a break and when you can push through. I use social media very sparingly. I don't post a lot on social media. I'm more of a social media reader. I might go on and check out the events or see what's going on with my family or something like that. The other thing I do is I go to therapy twice a month. So I want to talk a little bit about therapy. So therapy is one of these things that has a stigma associated with it. I like this chicken. This chicken has lots of problems. Even chickens have problems, see? So we all do too. But the more we talk about therapy and the more open we are about it, the less stigma there will be. So there's a lot of benefits about therapy. I'm not going to read them all to you, but you learn about yourself. It can help you achieve goals. You can have better relationships. You can have better physical and mental health, and it can improve your life. These are all great reasons to go to therapy. Why else should you go to therapy? Well, friends and family can't be your only outlet. You got to give them a break once in a while, right? You can hear alternative perspectives. You can find new meaning, developing new coping strategies, and also learn if medication could help you. I'm not advertising that you go to therapy and ask for medication. There's no quick fix. But what I'm saying is that talk therapy and medication therapy go hand in hand. And there are physiological reasons behind mental health problems. And in some cases, medication can be useful. So here are reasons that, or signs that maybe it's time to go to therapy. You know, if you get overwhelmed a lot, if you feel fatigue, if you have disproportionate anger, like if you fly off the handle about things, if you're having social issues, if you're anxious, if you're apathetic, you've lost hope, you're withdrawing socially, these are signs that maybe you should go check out some therapy. You know, just because you go to therapy once doesn't mean you have to go forever. More signs, mood swings, big life changes going on, harmful thoughts, not enjoying things you used to, feeling isolated, using drugs or alcohol to cope, you know, suspecting that you have something going on, feeling like you lost control, feeling like you have poor relationships or poor sleeping, you know, or just that you need to talk to someone. You know, there's lots of reasons to go to therapy, but these are just some of the signs that you might recognize in yourself or you might recognize in other people. So this is more what I want to focus on. So the awesome outcomes of therapy. So like I told you, I see a therapist twice a month and I'm pretty open about it. I tell my students about it. They know. You know, sometimes I'm moving meetings. I say, oh, I got to go see my therapist, or this is the only time my therapist can get me in. And you know, people are very accommodating to that. So awesome outcomes, you know, the effects persist over the long haul. You feel better physically. You get rid of passive aggressive stuff that you do. You learn about like emotions that you have and why you have them, which can help you combat them. You can get new perspectives on other people. It helps you with the things that you're dealing with in your life. You know you're not alone. Therapy over a long time can help you rewire your brain. You don't have to self-medicate anymore. Now you can drink wine because you like it, not because you need it. And this is a really important one for me. It enables you to teach the next generation a better way. So I'm a mom, I'm a teacher, I'm an advisor. I want to be able to help people and keep them from going through the same things that I have been through. I really like this cartoon, this Things I Get Out of Therapy. So when I found this, I immediately sent it to my therapist. I texted it to her and I complained to her that she wasn't bringing me chocolate. I pay her every session. Why was she not bringing me more chocolate? And she said it's because she can't have chocolate over FaceTime. So once these in-person sessions resume, I'm going to tell her I expect the chocolate. Okay, so what I wish I had known about therapy before now. So lots of misconceptions, right? So progress happens gradually. There's no quick fix. I remember the first day I went to my therapist and I was like, all right, let's do this, get it done. What's the path? I want to know how you're going to heal me. And it was not like that. So therapy doesn't fix you because you're not broken. So don't have that mindset. It can be affordable. You all have health insurance. So, you know, call your HR people and find out what's going on. There's not always a couch. You don't have to lie down on it. Therapists listen, but they also give you advice. They don't tell you what to do. They don't tell you how you should run your life. They give you suggestions and they give you options. They don't always ask you how that makes you feel. It doesn't have to be about your childhood. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But therapy is not easy. It takes work. Just like you saw Jen in her talk lifting that like enormous weight. I don't even know how much that was. You know, that's not easy, and neither is therapy. So, you know, you got to go in there expecting you're going to do work. Online therapy works, and online therapists are just as good. So if you don't want to go anywhere, you can do it online. Having a male or female therapist makes a difference. You got to find a therapist you connect with, okay? The first therapist you see might not be the best one, so try out different people. Therapists don't get their yayas from analyzing people, okay? Like, it's their job. They don't like get kicks from figuring you out. Like, they're there to help you. Many of them, they don't legally prescribe medication, so you're gonna have to pair them with a doctor. But I think understanding what's going on is kind of the first step here. You notice the website I put in the corner, talkspace.com. If you've ever seen Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer on TV advertising, this is what he advertises. So their slogan is therapy for all. They're all about removing the stigma behind therapy and getting it to be more accessible for everyday people. So check out the website. Okay, so recognizing people of concern. We went over this before, but here's a nice little graphic. It sums it up. You know, this is something you can maybe post in your lab if you want, or just keep it in mind. But this is information I've given you before, but it's a nice, succinct poster. Okay, resources for self-care. So if you want to do meditation, there's some nice apps out there. Headspace has a student deal. I've seen the Calm app on TV. If you watch TV, they have those commercials that say, don't do anything for 15 seconds. My children hate those. They're like, why do they do this? And I'm like, shh, don't say anything. I'm becoming calm. Fitness and well-being. So Alamoves is a free, it's a free app. You get a couple weeks of free yoga to try it out, see if you like it. Beachbody.com has some free workouts for the first week. There's tons of workout stuff on YouTube. I'm sure you can get it for free on there. If you're too embarrassed to go try yoga somewhere or do it in front of people, you can do it at home. Books. I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's funny and it's good, and I recommend you get it from Amazon. Also, Girl Wash Your Face. It's kind of aimed towards women, but to be honest, it's a book about empowerment, and men can read it too. You might not connect with it quite as well as if you were a woman, but you know, there's a lot of things, a lot of good pieces of advice, and she has some sequels to that too, but I've also read that. Oh, my postdoc Shane read You Are a Badass, so try that one as well. I think I'm gonna get that one. Online therapy, talkspace.com, I mentioned to you. Your campus gym, I'm sure, has group fitness classes you can sign up for. Your campus has mental health services, so look into those. And so just to quickly wrap up here, so maintaining your mental health, it's a lifelong skill. It's something you put into practice, like taking care of your body. So it's something that if you're not doing, you should start now, because you will get a lot out of that in the long run. There's a lot of benefits to maintaining your mental health. We talked about those. Mental health culture needs to change, and you can be a part of it. So I gave you ways to change it in your department. I gave you ideas of things to do. So if you have any questions about those, feel free to contact me. But if we all go out, if the 30 some people on this talk and go back to our departments and say, we need to change this, like, real change can begin to happen. And there's a lot of small things that you can do. It doesn't have to be big steps. So there's a lot of little things that you can do to contribute to a positive mental health culture. And they will all come together. And finally, it's important to be aware of mental health tools to help other people. So even if you yourself don't have mental health problems, you can certainly be part of the solution. Be aware of your campus and your local resources so you can give them out to other people that you recognize might need help. So that's it for me. That's all I have. I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. And again, please feel free to use this talk, to maybe give your own talks or give information to others that need it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for that really important talk. Inspirational, important, and a really excellent set of tools for promoting a positive culture. So I hope and expect that people across the center and otherwise can take this up for developing a positive or improving the culture in their own departments. And in fact, my colleagues have been emailing me during your talk and asking me for access to it. So clearly there is a real interest in taking this forward. So
nice.
Yep. Are there questions or other comments that folks have for Suzanne on this talk?
I would say something. When I was teaching undergrads at one point, I emailed them to tell them, if you're going to ask me questions or something at midnight, the night before homework assignments due, just go to bed, take care of yourself. I don't care about getting this on time. I'd rather you be healthy and everything instead of giving me garbage, really. And they actually seemed to resonate very well with the undergrads that had. They actually kind of distributed it among their friends, and it kind of expanded beyond just that one class that I had emailed saying that. And it really just kind of took off at Penn in general. So that I've always made that a point at the beginning of each semester when I was teaching. It's like, if you need time, or if you're stuck with this really late at night, just stop, email me, say, I need more time. I'd like some more help with this, instead of just scrambling or struggling to figure it out then, and we can take the time to actually do it so that they can take care of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I think a lot of students think that faculty are robots. We don't care, but we all care. And I think one of the best things that Jen said in her talk was talking about treating others the way she would want to be treated. And one of the golden rules for how I run my research group and for how I treat my classes and my students is I treat them the way I would want somebody to treat my kid. That's my rule. And so I think that's great, because I think you're treating those kids like you would want, your own families to be treated. So I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just ask a question. So of course, as a research supervisor for a long enough time, I've had various students that have ended up having issues with depression, especially. And some of them have been pretty open and talked to me about it, and I've had good and long discussions.
George, can you just hold your mic up a little closer? I'm having a little trouble hearing.
Okay. And some of them are ones where it's like I'm the last to know. Okay, like I eventually discovered there's some problems, but it's only so like I'm the last person they would talk to, and so it's always a matter of just how to first of all, for me to recognize things almost like without them telling me anything. And then the other especially thing, I now in the COVID era, the way I interact with the students is through Zoom. Okay, and I had tried to have these discussions with, not necessarily about this topic, but just discussions in general with students. And it's always like, okay, are there like warning signs, ways to ask questions, things like that that would give me a hint that I really should start, dealing with this issue.
Yeah, so as an advisor, especially if you run a large group, it's really hard to stay on top of your people. And what I find is one thing that can be really helpful is communicating to your students how it's important to you and how their well-being is important to you. And, a lot of us think like, oh, well, my students know, but like the more you say it and the more you sort of get behind it with with your actions, the more they're going to feel more comfortable coming to you. Like I've had students come to me and say, oh, I know you see a therapist. I'm interested in getting some therapy. How can I get started? And like, I would never have known that that student wanted to get therapy, but because I've been open about it, they felt comfortable coming to me. So I think reaffirming your commitment and reaffirming your doors open and reaffirming, or passing on campus resources, things like that. Because I totally agree with you. It's really hard to stay on top of these issues in your group, especially when you have a big group and especially when you're not interacting with people face to face. I think people are hungry.
I think it's an interesting, one of the challenges is in the past, we're not made aware as faculty in some situations, depending on the research group or the particulars, of a student who's in need of mental health support until things are at a crisis stage, right? And so what you're saying about being proactive about it and making it as part of the sort of ethos of the group that mental health maintenance is so important. And I think for the advisors to also be aware of how one gets resources and one gets support, right? Because that could be different, for example, between a postdoc and an undergraduate student. So I think part of the responsibility of the faculty who are on the call is to know exactly what the steps are for someone to get support if they're in crisis or if they're in, just a state where they might want to have a check-in and make that available. I mean, you I think had this very cool idea, Suzanne, about for undergraduates putting it out front in a syllabus, but maybe in group sort of website or group information, having that kind of thing available, how one goes about getting mental health resources so that for people who are just thinking about it or people who are in crisis, that they know exactly what one needs to do in order to get support. So I just put that out there as something that, could help facilitate. Other questions or comments?
No, one observation was basically, thank you so much. I think this talk is probably the most important talk of the entire ambassadors workshop. If your mental health is not right, you're not going to be able to do any other form of research. And I think it's especially true in the COVID era. A lot of graduate students are by themselves right now. And even I've noticed that a lot of the normal tools that I use to keep my mental health are not available, right? And so I think probably the comment with that is for all the students, undergraduates, et cetera, that are on the line, your advisors care very much about this topic and they want to help you with it. And so what Suzanne put together was an absolutely fantastic presentation. Sometimes we aren't maybe as approachable as we would like to be. I was actually just talking to somebody about that the other day. It's when did I become less approachable? Like and you start to, that starts to happen in your career, and it starts to be something that makes you a little bit harder for people to talk to you about these things. But know that this is a priority, and there's a lot of takeaways that I had from it. So thank you so much for this talk, Suzanne.
Sure.
Really good. Well, I think we've had both talks this morning were fantastic. So I'm really happy with how things have gone, and the time that we're spending on professional development and well-being is really important and time well spent. So I wish you could spend more, but I think we can continue the discussion from here for